the Rambam brings it from the Gemara that there's a rule which says Dayach Masha Asra Teira. There's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we say Nedarim Shagla Precious, which means on the one hand to make a neder is a good thing. It keeps you safe and holy. If I'm vulnerable, if I have a weakness, so I make a neder to keep myself away from it, right? The Gemara's expression is which means you tell a nazir not he shouldn't drink wine. So don't go near a bar. Don't go near a liquor store. Stay away from any place where vulnerability may meet you. You tell the nazir, stay away, be careful, be wary, don't trust yourself. Because the person is vulnerable, which of course is a very, very practical thing. We talked about it a little bit last night, right? The halachas of yichud is a similar idea. Torah says, be careful, don't be alone with a woman. No one's going to say anything is going to happen, but you don't want to be in that position. You don't want to be vulnerable in that way. So if a person has a weakness, you're making an extra fence, right? On the other hand, there's a rule that says, Dayach Masa Ashasreira, don't be from within God. Rashi says in yesterday's chitas, that when a nazir brings a korban chatas, he brings it by the chatas of a person who became tummy in the middle of his nazirus, but l'chayda applies by regular nazir as well. Why does a nazir bring a korban chatas? What sin did he commit? That he deprived himself of drinking wine. The Eibush to put all the physical things in the world for us to enjoy. And for a person to deprive himself of something in the physical world, which the Eibush did not prohibit, in other words, if he's being, so to speak, frumer than HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then that's a chetrim for korban chatas.
You just mentioned before in Rashi that concept that don't see a sota to look at himself and say that maybe I drink too much or should stop.
Right, so there's two sides. On the one hand, the nazirus is considered precious. On the other hand, the nazirus is considered a chet. Because ideally, I should not be vulnerable. And if I'm not going to be vulnerable, I have no reason to make the neder. Verstehst? The point is, nazirus is necessary, but it would be better if we didn't have to make nazirus. And that's why it says in Chassidus, because hatoras nedarim. A chacham is materes haneder. A person who makes it kabbalistically, a neder comes from bina. And a chacham is chachma. You make the neder because the beginning of gvura is bina. If you see yourself, you feel yourself vulnerable, you make a neder. If you come to a place where you realize that you're no longer vulnerable, then you go to a chacham that's higher than the madrega bina, and he's mater. He unties the neder, he unties the neder backward, as if you never made it. So those are the two sides of nazirus. It's necessary because of vulnerability. It brings to a state of precious, and it's always preferred to have not to have needed to make the neder. It's always better to not have made the neder. And when nedarim, since you are taking upon yourself a ninyan, which Hashem did not mandate, it has to be l'shem shemaim, it has to be sincere, otherwise there's toigdish. And that's the continuation of nazir to saita. So that means the person makes a mistake. And fakert, ein adam ever aveda el imkei nichnes beruch shtus. We talked about this last night. We don't make mistakes wantonly. We don't make mistakes with chutzpah. We make mistakes with a weakness. Wir sind abgeschwacht. We're weak.
I'm saying you have a weakness towards him. How could you tell him to give chatas?
Because the chatas is for the fact that he's weak. The chatas is the fact that he's weak.
The fact you're living is the problem.
Well, the fact that you're asking a very uncomfortable question, but the answer is the fact that I have not been mavared myself sufficiently. I know a man. Well, I guess the best way to describe him is modern orthodox, but he's not modern orthodox. He's a bigger chassid than most chassidim. He has an incredible amount of self-control, and he's a deep intellectual, doesn't waste a minute of his time. He's involved in very good things. And he always talks to me. He brings a Yerushalmi someplace, which says this point, that the world was made to enjoy. He's coming from the philosophy of the modern Orthodox. You know, the whole idea is, why you have to be frummer? Be frummer to Shulchan Aruch. Don't be extra frum. Don't be machmir. The Eibush didn't put us in this world that we should deprive us things of this world. And he's right. For him. You understand? You see, but self-control is not only a nature. Self-control is good habits. Self-control is a way of life.
So you're saying we're doing the opposite. Instead of calling things self-control, we're staying away from self-control and just putting more boundaries.
When we have a weakness in self-control, we put a boundary, and the same Torah that gave us permission to create that boundary says you should know that the need for that boundary, and therefore the boundary itself, is rooted in sin. So when you go back to drinking wine, va'acha yishta nazar yayin, it brings a korban chatas. So Nazir is for a time, it's not for life. It's for a period of time. And then you stop the Nazirus. Anyway, those are some thoughts on Nazir. Now the Shailah is how it lands in Pashas Nosei. How does it land in Pashas Nosei? Yesterday's Chitas was Seita Nazir. The longest Chitas of the year.
In the beginning, so they mentioned this?
That what?
About
Are they Seita B'Kul Yazim Ben Ayayin? Could be, ich denke nicht. The Eibishter, you know what it's like? It's like Pesach and Seder Sa'imet, right? Pesach Hashem reveals himself, and then you have to work on yourself. Shavuos Hashem gives us the Torah. Right after the Eibishter gives us the Torah tells us the Torah is very holy, and it's very perfect, and it's very godly, and it's very beautiful. But in the real world, you have to be careful. Those are the pachas of Seita and Nazir. That even though the elokus of the Torah is so powerful, we may need to pay close attention to our Yetzer Hara, not trust ourselves, right? That's in the Mishnah. Al Talmim ba'atzmach ad yom Pesach. You shouldn't trust yourself. And if you have to make fences, you make fences so that you can preserve the Iker.
is that self-control, for instance?
You put in extra fences to preserve self-control, to keep your self-control.
But it's not actual self-control.
Well, if it works, it is. Hey, self-control is one simple bottom line. That I didn't do what I didn't want to do. Motivation is nice, but the most important thing is that I didn't do
It's
it.
the best self-control is that.
The best self-control is not to have to create fences. It's a healthy self-control. And if you can't have a healthy self-control, you do whatever you need to do to preserve self-control.